So, let's talk about the ANC, the African National Congress. For anyone who grew up in South Africa, these three letters are as familiar as braais on a Saturday. They were the heroes of the story, the legends who fought against the insane system of apartheid. Think about it, these were the people who stood up to a government that told you where you could live, who you could love, and what dreams you were allowed to have, all based on the color of your skin. It was a proper, real-life struggle, a battle for the soul of a nation, and the ANC was at the very front of the queue, leading the charge. When 1994 came around and Nelson Mandela walked out of prison to become the first democratically elected president, it was magical. It felt like the whole world was cheering for us. The ANC wasn't just a political party, it was a symbol of hope. It was the promise of a rainbow nation, a new South Africa, where everyone had a fair chance. They promised houses, they promised jobs, they promised a better life for all. And for a long time, people believed in that promise with all their hearts, because the ANC had earned that trust by fighting the good fight for so many years. But here's the thing about stories. They have chapters. The chapter about the freedom struggle was epic, no doubt. But the next chapter is about governing. And that, my friends, is a completely different kettle of fish. It's one thing to fight against an unjust system, but it's another thing entirely to build a new, fair one from the ground up. Suddenly, you're not just making promises, you have to actually deliver on them. You have to manage the economy, you have to fix the infrastructure, and you have to make sure the lights stay on. It's a tough gig. Fast forward to today, 2025. The ANC has been in power for over 3 decades. That's a long time to be in charge of anything. It's longer than some marriages and definitely longer than most mobile phone contracts. The party that was once the clear hero of the story now has a much more complicated reputation. The cheers are not as loud, and the initial hope has been replaced by some very tough questions. People are starting to look around and wonder if the party they put their faith in still remembers the promises it made all those years ago. Okay, so what does it actually mean for a political party to care about its voters? It sounds simple, right? But it's more than just putting up posters with smiling faces every 5 years and handing out free t-shirts at rallies. A free t-shirt is nice, sure, but you can't eat it, and it definitely won't fix the potholes in your road. Caring is about listening. It's like being in a relationship. If your partner only talks about themselves and never asks how your day was, you start to feel a bit, ignored. It's the same with the government. Imagine you live in a community where the water gets cut off every other day. You tell your local councilor, you sign petitions, you even protest peacefully. A party that cares would see this and say, right, this is a serious problem. Our people can't live like this. Let's get our best engineers on it, let's find the money, and let's fix these pipes. It means they see your problem as their problem. They don't just say, we'll look into it, and then disappear until the next election cycle. Real care is about action, not just words. Caring also means keeping your promises. If a party campaigns on a promise to build 1 million new houses for the poor, people will hold them to it. It's like telling your kid you'll take them for ice cream if they clean their room. If they clean their room, and you suddenly forget about the ice cream, you've broken their trust. It's the same thing on a massive scale. When politicians make big promises about jobs, crime, and corruption, voters are the kids who cleaned their room. They did their part by voting, and now they're waiting for the ice cream. And finally, caring is about respect. It's about treating citizens like they are the boss. Because in a democracy they are. It means explaining your decisions, even the difficult ones. It means admitting when you've messed up and showing a clear plan to do better. When leaders start acting like they are above the people, driving fancy cars past communities with no basic services, it sends a clear message. It says, we are not the same. Your struggles are not our struggles. That's the opposite of caring. It's a disconnect. Now this is where it gets tricky. Winning an election doesn't automatically mean a party cares. Think about it. Sometimes people vote for a party out of loyalty. For many older South Africans, voting for the ANC is like supporting their favorite football team. They've been with them through the tough times, they celebrated the big victories, and they'll stick with them, even when the team isn't playing so well. This loyalty is powerful, and it can help a party win elections, even when many of its supporters are unhappy with its performance. This is a phenomenon we see all over the world. A party can win an election, but that doesn't mean everyone who voted for them agrees with everything they do afterwards. Look at what happened in America. Donald Trump won in 2024, but by early 2025, polls were showing that many of the people who voted for him were actually against some of his big policies. This shows that winning an election is just a snapshot in time. The real work of representing people's interests happens every single day after the votes are counted, and that's where the disconnect can begin. In South Africa, you hear this all the time. People say, I voted for the ANC, but I'm not happy. They feel ignored when they complain about load shedding that messes up their lives and businesses. They feel unheard when they see news reports about billions of rand lost to corruption while their local clinic doesn't have basic medicine. They still cast their vote, maybe because they don't see a better alternative, or maybe because of that deep-rooted loyalty, but their hearts are not in it. They are voting with their memory, not with their current satisfaction. This creates a dangerous situation for any democracy. When a government gets comfortable and thinks that winning elections is the only goal, it can stop trying to win the hearts and minds of its people. They start to take their voters for granted. They think, well, they'll vote for us anyway. But loyalty isn't endless. Eventually, if the team keeps losing and the manager doesn't seem to care, even the most die-hard fans might start looking for a new team to support, or worse, they might just stop coming to the stadium altogether. So, if the ANC wants to prove it still cares, what can it actually do? Well, it's not rocket science, it's about going back to basics. First, they need to listen. And I mean really listen. Not just in fancy conferences in Santon, but by going to the townships, the villages, and the informal settlements where people are facing the real-life consequences of government failures. They need to hold genuine community meetings, or imbizos, where leaders don't just give speeches but actually sit down and take notes while ordinary citizens speak. And then, they must act on what they hear. Second, they need to tackle corruption with the energy of a swarm of angry bees. Nothing makes people feel more disrespected than seeing public money, their money, being stolen by the very people who are supposed to be serving them. It's the ultimate betrayal. Appointing a few commissions is a start, but people need to see real consequences. They need to see people in orange overalls, regardless of how powerful they are. This would send a powerful message that the era of impunity is over and that the party is serious about cleaning its own house. Third, focus on the small things that make a big difference. Of course, big economic plans are important, but for many people, care is shown in the details. Fix the broken traffic lights. Fill the potholes. Make sure the taps have water and the lights stay on. Ensure that when someone goes to a government office, they are treated with dignity and efficiency. These small victories rebuild trust from the ground up. They show people that the government is competent and that it cares about their daily quality of life, not just about grand, abstract ideas. Finally, the ANC needs a big dose of humility. Its leaders need to remember that they are servants of the people, not the other way around. They need to acknowledge their mistakes openly and show a genuine commitment to doing better. The language of the liberation struggle is powerful, but it can't be used to deflect from the failures of today. The party needs a new promise, one that is relevant to the challenges of 2025. By showing it can listen, act, and serve with humility, the ANC can begin to mend its relationship with the people who have given it their trust for so long.